Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault 2, and we're back out here in the garage once again talking about the SIG P320. And yesterday I made a video regarding the tests that the Wyoming Gun Project conducted, and I tried to duplicate the results here in my garage. And lo and behold, the video got a lot of views, and that was never the intention. As you guys know, this is my second channel, hence the name, the Texas Gun Vault 2. It's just supposed to be a casual behind-the-scenes channel for my biggest fans. And if you want to go watch all of my usual range reports and product reviews, the main channel link is in the description below. But today, I'm out here actually setting up to do a review on the Zastava Arms VUK AK suppressor on this beautiful Meridian Defense Volk S. And I did the range report on this actually yesterday as well, but that video won't come out for probably about a year because that's how far ahead I am on videos on the main channel. So after the video last night, which I think when I went to bed, it had like 110 views, which is about what I expected it to have. I woke up this morning to having 7,000 views and lots of comments. And you guys know I try to talk and respond to every comment, especially if they're nice. If you're mean, I'm not going to respond to you and I'm just going to delete it. So there are a couple of caveats to this video before I answer some questions and try to test these SIG P320s out again to see if I can duplicate those results. First off, this is all in reference to the Wyoming Gun Project's video. He is a friend of the channel. I personally know him. I have his phone number. We have talked on the phone and we have texted. Even before all of this happened, he's a good guy. His name is Matt. He's a genuine human being. He's very honest, and I believe the video that he made is truly documenting his experiences. I know that he has no skin in the game. He doesn't hate SIG, but he also doesn't defend SIG. And that's kind of where I find myself in this whole debate. When it comes to the P320s, I own a few. And while I have never carried one, I have voiced my issues with them in the past. Not necessarily when it comes to things like uncommanded discharges, but generally talk about how when these things first hit the market, I was interested in them because the military adopted them, but when I kind of ran the action and I took them to the range, they just never really felt as good as other striker fired guns. I was like, well, the tolerances just don't seem to be the same. When I pull the trigger, it doesn't feel like a Glock's trigger. It doesn't feel as strong. I knew that striker's at full cock. And when I take the gun apart, I look at the small parts, the safeties, and go, they just don't seem to be as robust as other designs like the Smith & Wesson M&P. But they've been tested by the military, so I guess they're okay. They're just not the gun for me. And as a collector, I just picked a few up because I wanted the same guns the military had. Not because I planned on carrying them. I have a lot of other guns for that. It's just me being a dorky gun guy and just wanting to have guns. So when I made the video last night, I had a lot of wonderful comments and a lot of people reporting whether or not they were able to get their personal P320s to duplicate the results of the Wyoming Gun Project's tests. And it's important to note that the Wyoming Gun Project, or Matt, I guess I'll just call him Matt from now on, it's so much easier to say. He said he was only able to get one of the 3 P320s that he owns to do this. And of course, people are questioning him, saying, well, it's all done on a green screen, or the gun wasn't maintained. Well, I'm pretty sure Matt cleans his guns, and people even said that in the video last night. They're like, those guns look really clean. Well, yeah, I clean my guns when I get them back from the range. And when it comes to guns that I don't carry, like these, they are virtually kind of brand new because I literally take them apart. I take Q-tips and pipe cleaners and clean out all the little crevices because I'm a nerdy gun guy. That's just the way that I am. And I take care of my stuff. So some people are saying maybe the issue is a dirty gun. But I would argue that the issues with the P320 should not happen even if the gun is dirty, because look at Glocks. I know that there are people that shoot thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds through Glocks. They don't really thoroughly clean them, and we don't have these issues. Now, also, as I said, I am not a defender of SIG, and I'm not a hater of SIG. All I care about is finding out what the hell is going on, because obviously there is something to this, okay? I don't think that, of course, I'm going to take out my thoughts on how SIG is handling the situation. That's not what we're here to discuss. And I've talked about how I think they're handling it terrible in other videos. But a lot of people were saying they could not duplicate the Wyoming Gun Project's results, and other people said they were. Now, I don't have any P320s that have metal frames, so I can't test that aspect of it. Some people are saying, I guess the Yankee Marshal has a metal frame P320, and he can't get it to do. And in fact, everybody in the comment section of my last video that has a metal framed one said they could not duplicate those results. So does that mean there's something within the frames that's moving a little bit? It's possible, because it seems like most of these uncommanded discharges are with military guns and police firearms, and most of those are going to be polymer framed, not metal framed. So, but I only have 2 polymer frames and 1 with the tungsten frame. And these are the same guns I had out here last night. I have a commercial M17, commercial 18, and a custom one that is made of all SIG parts with the exception of the takedown lever that I got from SIG's website. So it has a custom shop fire control unit in it, and the frame is the tungsten infused one. So a lot of people, whether or not they were able to duplicate the results on their own, some were able to, some were not. They asked me some great questions, and they had some recommendations. So I'm here to make kind of a follow-up video to yesterday's video, and to see if, once again, we can duplicate the results. Now, yesterday, I really look at it as mixed results, because I think I kind of was able to do it with one of these guns, and the other ones I couldn't. So the first recommendation was you need to put the magazines back in, because when I did the tests, being a safe gun handler, when I would clear the gun and I tried to pull the trigger back and see if I can move the slide to get it to go off, essentially, or have the striker drop, people said the magazine wasn't in. So that's what I want to test. Now, the other criticism I got in that video was, why are you pulling the trigger back? The Wyoming Gun Project, or Matt, didn't do that. He had a little wood screw. Well, I'm not going to put wood screws into my frames, okay? I just respect my guns. And now, listen, you can do whatever you want to your own property. I just don't want to scratch these, and I don't really care. This is not a scientific video. If you were here to get any definitive answers to this question of what's going on, I don't have them for you, okay? I'm just a guy in his garage. I'm a nobody. So don't think that, you know, I have any horse in this race. I don't care. I'm a nobody. I'm just out here having a discussion about P320s to my friends. That's all this is. It's like going to the, you know, work site and talking around the water cooler about guns. So for my tests, I'm just kind of pulling the trigger back, because that really seems to be the issue at play. When it comes to Matt's videos, when he put the wood screw in there, he was talking about how the trigger is pulled back, I think even less than a millimeter, which disengages the firing pin block safety, and then puts the striker and the sear in a very precarious situation where just moving the slide either up or down or left or right can make the gun go off. So we're going to try these tests again with the various guns, and this time I'm going to be using snap caps and put the magazines back in. So let's start off with my custom one. This does not have a thumb safety. It has the, I guess we're going to say the post upgrade, because it's the custom shop fire control unit. I just bought it as a fire control unit and bought everything else for this gun. The gun is clear, and we're going to put the magazine back in. And now we're going to pull the trigger back, and this is going to be way further than Matt's video. Now, why am I doing this? People are saying, well, that's not a valid test because you're pulling the trigger back, and I can kind of see that. However, if you pull it back to kind of where the wall is, if you can still get the gun to go off by manipulating the sight, there's a problem. And essentially, I'm exaggerating that trigger distance that Matt did. So if I can't get it to do it with these guns, I think that's really important to note. But some people are able to get this to happen, and I do believe them. I do believe there is an issue, and I think it has to do more with the individual gun. We talked yesterday about the slide to frame fit. Some of these are very wobbly, and some of these are actually pretty darn tight. And I have discovered it really depends on pistol to pistol. It's not uniform across the board. That's the one thing about Glocks and Berettas and other manufacturers that I really like, is that they all seem to fit the same and feel the same from example to example. Where the P320, they all feel different. They all seem to have different tolerances. I think you call it tolerance stacking, which was mentioned in the FBI report. Okay, so let's start off with the custom P320. This one has quite a bit of slide to frame wobble. Here, I'll put up to my microphone. You can hear that. I'll even show you right here. Okay, so that is, and I'll rack the slide so the striker is cocked. Lots of play there. Okay, so here we go. So we're going to start off with the gun empty, magazine in. Because yesterday we pulled the trigger back. I couldn't do it. I went up and down. People also said Matt's video, or the Wyoming Gun Project, he moved the slide left to right. So we're going to try that as well. Okay, so with no magazine in, nothing happening. Okay, so now let's put the magazine in. So now we have upward pressure on the slide. I still have that motion. I'm going to pull the trigger back, up and down on both the front and the back, and left to right. And that trigger is, as you can see, I'm pulling it back and I'm holding it back to where it's at the wall. So this is way further back than the gun Matt tested. So if there was a problem with this gun doing this by manipulating the slide, I would think I would be able to get it to happen. Okay, so I'm now going left to right, front and back, up and down. I can't get it. Now I can pull the trigger, it will drop the striker. Okay, so the other thing people asked is, what if you put a snap cap in it? So I have a snap cap, dummy round essentially. All right, so now there's a magazine in it with a round in the chamber, and this is supposed to simulate the way these guns are having their uncommanded discharges. I pull the trigger back. I still have slide to frame issues. Now, I just pulled the trigger on that one because these are pretty darn light triggers, especially with the custom fire control group. So let me put this back in there again. All right, pull that trigger back. Up and down in the front, up and down in the rear. I'm manipulating the gun right and left in the front and the back. Trigger is still pulled back all the way. I'm going to hit it again. Maybe I can hit it on the back. I can't duplicate that result. So right there, I just pulled the trigger. So I tried doing all the things you guys recommend. And this was the gun yesterday I kind of felt like maybe I had it happen to. And I could see that. So the other thing people are saying is that you're getting unusual or uneven wear on the striker hook. Now this gun has about 400 to 500 rounds through it. I don't see any unusual striker wear on this one. It looks like the wear is pretty much right in the center. Yep, so that's this one. This is the one I think I kind of had that issue with yesterday. Nothing. Okay, so let's move on to the M17. This is the commercial edition. This is a pre-upgraded gun. So I bought this one as soon as SIG offered the M17 for commercial sales. This is a M17 commercial. I also personally own a M17 and an M18 commemorative and an M17 and M18 surplus. But we're going to use the commercials for right now. So this one also has the thumb safety. So let me go ahead and clear this weapon so there's no ammunition in it. And let's see what the slide to frame fit. This is tighter than the custom one. Okay, not bad. I would put this one at, you know, a little bit looser than your typical Glock tolerances, where on this one, it's much looser. Okay, so that's what it feels like, okay? Now, this also has a traditional kind of trigger shoe to it. So let's go ahead and pull this trigger back to the wall, essentially. Now, no magazine in. I'm hitting it top and bottom, forward and the rear of the gun, up and down. Now let's go side to side. Now this gun has a lot more play from right to left. I'm pulling the trigger back to the wall. Nothing's happening. Okay, so I'll pull the trigger to prove the striker was cocked. Okay, so now let's recock the weapon. Let's insert the magazine. So the magazine is now in, and I'll pull the trigger back to the wall, front, back, up and down. I'm hitting it. Now let's go right to left. I'm jostling this pretty hard, front and back. Let's hit the back of the gun. Nothing. Let me pull the trigger again to show you the striker is cocked. There it is. All right, so now let's try the dummy round in the magazine. Dummy round in the magazine. Gun is loaded with that dummy round. Let's pull the trigger back. Up and down in the front. Up and down in the rear. Hit it on the back. Okay. Now let's go side to side. Front and back. That trigger is all the way back. And I can't duplicate it. Let me pull the trigger once again. You can hear the striker released. So now let's put the magazine back in with the dummy round and the thumb safety. So this is another thing people were asking. If the thumb safety is engaged, did any of these uncommanded discharges happen with the thumb safety on? So the thumb safety is on. I pull the trigger back all the way to where I have resistance. Here we go again. Nothing's happening. Okay? And I'm pulling the trigger back. I can't make it go off. Drop the thumb safety. There it is. Okay. So that was the M17 commercial pre-upgrade. Now, this is the commercial M18. Now, I did purchase this one when it first came out, but the M18s came out later than the M17s on the commercial market. I believe this one is post-update. So this one would have had the changes done to it. So let's once again clear the weapon. And without a magazine in, let's pull the trigger back. And this is about the same size gun that Matt used in his video. Up and down on the front, up and down on the back. I'm hitting it, pulling the trigger back, which gives us way more trigger distance pulled than Matt's video. So if it was going to happen here, I think I'm giving it all the chances to make it work or to duplicate these results. Hitting the back of the gun, up and down. Let's go left, right. I can't make it happen. Okay, so I pulled the trigger there. You can hear the striker was cocked. Magazine in the gun. Now, let's go ahead and pull the trigger back. Left, right. Up, down. Left, right. Pulling the slide up, down. Okay, nothing. Let me pull the trigger. Okay, now dummy round in the magazine. Okay, pull the trigger back. Up, down. Hit the gun. Hit the gun in the back. Right to left, rear. Right to left, front. It's not happening. And then finally, let's load the gun with the dummy round, magazine in, and thumb safety on. Pull the trigger back. I can't pull it back any further. Hitting it kind of hard. Right and left. Nope, nothing's happening there. Let me take the thumb safety off, pull the trigger. Yeah, I can't get the duplicate problem or the duplicate issue as Matt did. Now, once again, I am in no way saying that what Matt did was wrong. In fact, I think his test is great. He's a great friend of the channel. And I'm telling you, if you don't believe him, believe me, he is an honest guy. And just handling these firearms and kind of feeling the tolerances, I definitely believe there are huge variances from pistol to pistol. Huge variances. Some P320s I pick up are loosey-goosey. Some of them I pick up are much tighter. Some of them have an issue, like I showed in yesterday's video, where especially new ones or military ones, when you close the slide, if you don't like slam it home, it like gets caught a little bit out of battery. So there's like something inside that just doesn't seem to be in spec. I don't know. Do I trust the P320? Not really. I know this stuff is happening. I believe the police officers, and I've seen the videos. Now, are they sometimes manipulating the gun in some way? Like their hands, yeah, I guess so, but I'm a centrist on this, but there's too many issues with the P320 to be ignored. So do I believe it's every P320? No. Do I believe it's happening? Yes. Am I defending SIG? No. Am I saying that the people that hate SIG are wrong? No, I'm not saying anything. I'm a centrist on this. I'm not supporting SIG. I'm not defending SIG. I'm not supporting the Air Force or any law enforcement agency. I'm not defending them or criticizing them. I'm just saying that I want good information, and I appreciate everybody who was responding in the comments telling me I was able to duplicate it. I was not able to duplicate it. This is my gun. This is what I'm seeing. Wow, I never knew that the slide to frame fit was so janky. Now, the other question I got in that video was, why is nobody talking about how the triggers are being pulled or moved? And I've mentioned this in previous videos. In fact, I'll get a couple of different guns out here to show you 100% why I think there's a design flaw with the P320 that's unrelated to what's really happening when it comes to the sear engagement. But it has to do with these triggers. We all know that a stock P320 does not have a dingus safety, so it's really easy through whether it be inertia or friction or something, a foreign object getting into a holster or purse and being able to pull that trigger back just a little bit, not far enough to pull the striker off of the hook, but just enough to maybe disengage that safety and put the gun in a precarious situation. The issue, I believe, with the trigger deals with its width. Now, I don't have a set of dial calipers, but when I handle any of these P320s, in fact, it's even more pronounced on my custom one, the width of the trigger shoe is almost flush with the side of the trigger guard. It's recessed in there a little bit. But my argument is, when you're holstering the weapon, if the holster is a little bit too tight, or maybe it was manufactured in such a way, because it uses the trigger guard, most holsters do, the trigger guard to wrap around to give it the retention, if it's not like a higher retention holster. So it uses the friction around the trigger guard. Well, that means the material around the trigger guard is pinched in a little bit, which means that it might rub on the side of the trigger just a little bit, not enough to pull the trigger back and have the striker released, but enough to maybe bring it back that millimeter or half of a millimeter and take a little bit of pressure off. Now, the other issue that might be happening is the trigger return spring might be weak in some of these guns. So on these, I think they're relatively strong, but with some people, maybe there's a part problem that the trigger doesn't go all the way back forward. That is a possibility, or maybe the guns do get dirty, but I argue a gun should be able to run filthy, especially for law enforcement and military with no issues. Now, when I compare that, here's my Walther PDP, the trigger guard here is out way further in width than the trigger shoe of the PDP. Plus, this gun has a dingus safety or blade safety. So even if I rubbed the side of the trigger, I cannot pull it, okay? And let me go ahead and show the gun is empty. I can't pull that trigger without pushing that blade all the way in. But the distance between the side of the trigger guard and that blade safety is quite large. And for me, that gives me a little bit more confidence. Here is a Smith & Wesson M&P 9 Shield Plus that I have into the channel for review for my good friend Jack. And this one has actually a really thin trigger guard. And the trigger on this one is pretty close to the side of, I guess it's width-wise is almost the same, but it has a blade safety. So this one doesn't give me as much confidence, and I'd be a little bit more weary of that. But I would say it is in, and it's a little bit more narrow than the SIG is to their trigger guard. Now, am I saying that's the problem? Absolutely not. I'm just talking here. I'm a nobody in my garage sharing my personal observations. I'm a centrist. Once again, I don't hate SIG. I'm not defending SIG. I'm not hating anybody or calling anybody out. I am just saying that I want a solution to this. And the only way we're ever going to get this solved and fixed and figured out what's going on is if we share our experiences in a fruitful way, a nice discussion. Just because I can't duplicate this result, like on these P320s like Matt did, doesn't mean I'm a SIG shill. It just means on my personal guns, I can't duplicate it. It doesn't mean you guys are wrong. It just means, okay, here's some data. Now let's take this data and add it to Matt's data, and let's add it to your data, and let's take a look at the evidence of other people, and let's put the whole thing together. Then take a step back without using emotions, without having preconceived desires for outcomes, and just look at what's happening. That's the only way we're going to get to the solution on this. But getting back to this trigger, that's a pretty thick trigger as compared to the trigger guard, but once again, it has that blade safety. So I think that's kind of part of the issue. So there you go. So I hope I addressed some of the concerns, questions, and I tested this in a different way and addressed, I guess, the issues some people said in my last test I didn't cover. Which, by the way, this is not a scientific test. I am not here to give you any definitive answers. I'm not here to solve the debate once and for all. None of that, okay? None of that. So don't look at this as the end-all, be-all. I'm not making any claims in this video. I'm not saying the P320 is a bad gun. I'm not saying it's a great gun. I'm just sharing my experiences with you. And you are free to be a thinking, mature adult and use this information and help come up with a solution. That's all this is. So if you want to be snarky in my comment section, being like, well, I bet you're not going to carry that appendix. Well, I don't carry appendix because I have the tactical Texas Gun Vault dad bod, but I never carry appendix, and I have never personally carried a P320. And I own 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. And I have never carried a single one because from day one, back in 2017, when I bought my very first one, which was this one, I realized just holding it, I don't have as much confidence in it. I could not quantify that feeling. Besides, it just doesn't feel as solid as other striker fired guns. I don't like the fact it doesn't have the blade safety. I don't like this. I still thought it was cool because it was the military pistol. So don't be snarky in the comments. We're here. We're all on the same team. We're gun people. Let's come together and figure out a solution. Let's figure out what the problem is. Don't just go, well, this gun tuber says this. This is the answer. We don't know that, okay? We have people on both sides of the aisle here that are just, I think, are defending SIG, and they're blind to the actual evidence and other tests. And I also believe there are people that are saying the P320 is an absolute piece of, garbage, and everyone is bad. Well, I don't think that's the case either. I believe, like everything with an argument, The truth lies somewhere in between. What did I say? There's his story, her story, and the truth. And I want to get to the truth. I'm not going to get into the emotional debates of one side or the other. Let's just have a factual discussion. All right, so I addressed those issues and made the video I promised I would make. So now let me know what you think. And does this video change your mind in any way? Keep posting in the comments about what you're experiencing with your own personal guns, and let's figure this out. And so if you made it to the end of the video, if you're a true Texas gun vault dweller, I know it's a little funny thing that we always do. We always have the word of the day, and it lets me know who watches to the end. The word of the day is going to be dummy, because I was using a dummy round, and there's a lot of people on this debate on both sides that are dummy. So dummy, use that word in the comment section. And I know you watch to the end. Let's have a wonderful discussion. Welcome to the Texas Gun Vault. If you're new, please check out my main channel. There's a link in the description below. This is just my behind the scenes channel. So let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns, hypotheses, thesi? Anyway, pontifications. And as always, thanks for watching.